Hello, everyone. Welcome to TD Board Gamers. My name is Dave,
And I'm Dirk.
and today we're going to take a look at the latest article from Fantasy Flight Games for Arkham Horror Chapter 2.
Into the Arkham verse.
Yeah, so this is an intro to Arkham. So this article is designed for new players that are looking to get into Arkham Horror. With the upcoming Chapter 2, this is a great, jumping on point because there's going to be a new core set and which will have like a learn to play and starting investigators in a starting campaign. So you can buy just this box to test it out without having to worry about the years of cards that are in the pool already.
Then some of them are very hard to find.
Yeah,
So,
some are. Yeah,
virtually impossible.
You're going to be spending a lot of money on eBay
Yeah.
probably. All right, so we got Intro to Arkham here. So let's take a look at what we got.
So, dark entities work maliciously in the city of Arkham, doing everything within their power to realize unspeakable goals. Many of the city's residents stand idly by or live in blissful ignorance of this growing darkness. Others, however, stand up and fight against those threats and do what they can to keep the city of Arkham and its citizens safe.
I don't know if anyone who lives in Arkham would not know that something's going on, but okay. Anyways,
They could be oblivious,
apparently,
like me sometimes.
All right. As an Arkham horror, the card game hopeful, maybe you are interested in joining the defense against the mythos, but you aren't sure where to start.
I thought you were going to say Dark Arts for a second.
No. Or perhaps you have all the tools you need, but aren't sure how to put them to good use. Luckily, with the proper guidance and understanding the basics of Arkham Horror, you'll be confident to join the fight against the mythos in no time.
Although all you need to start playing Arkham Horror the card game is a copy of the core set. Within this core set, you'll find 5 different investigators, a collection of player cards to build decks with, and a 3-scenario campaign to play. Though the box contains pre-built decks for each investigator you can play with immediately, you can also build your own decks with the cards included in the core set. And I'm going to tell you from the experience of the first game, deck building is one of my favorite parts of it. So if you haven't played it and you're new to this, I encourage you highly to try the deck building portion. It's a lot of fun. But while playing with the pre-built decks is a perfect way to jump in and start playing, understanding deck building opens up more options to you as a player to express yourself through the game.
All right. It is this player's expression that makes Arkham Horror deck building so exciting to delve into. Each investigator has a card pool with restrictions, but players are free to explore as they wish within those restrictions. One player can build Daniela Reyes as a defensive support for the team, using cards like Bodyguard to soak damage for others. But another player can build Daniela as a reckless damage dealer, using a meat cleaver paired with resilience to maximize her damage output.
All right, so we're going to take a look at Daniela and these other cards real quick.
All right.
All right, so Daniela, she's the blue guardian. So this is the blue class. This is the guardian class. So they're kind of the fighters of the game in general. She's a mechanic. She has a willpower of 3. She has an intellect of 2, a strength of 5, and she has a dexterity of 2. She is a warden and a worker. And that symbol there, that's a reaction symbol. So as a reaction, after an enemy attacks an investigator at your location, you can fight that enemy using either a basic fight action or a fight ability on a card. And you can do this 1 time per round. If she draws the Elder Sign from the pool or from the bag, then the effect of that is she gets a +1 for that skill test, and she deals 1 damage to an enemy at your location. So this means it can be either the enemy you're attacking, if you happen to do it on an attack. You could do it to a different enemy while you're attacking an enemy, or if you're doing any other kind of action that causes you to pull from the bag. But she has 9 hit points and she has 5 sanity.
Yeah. So what Dirk's alluding to is when you do a test, say we're going to do a combat test, for example, like you want to fight an enemy. So Daniela has a base attack of 5, and then there's a bunch of tokens in a bag that's random from there's like a +1, and it can go all the way up to, well, depending on what difficulty, you can even get like a -8. But
Yeah, those are wild.
and then there's some symbol tokens that do special things based on the scenario. But yeah, so you would go, okay, the difficulty is 5, so I've got a combat of 5, so now I draw a token from the bag, and oh look, I drew the 0, so 5 equals 5, so I succeeded in the combat, and I would be able to do a point of damage. The little star there, the elder sign, what that gives would give an effect of +1. So now Daniela got six fight instead of 5, which still succeeds, and deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. So in addition to the 1 damage that you do to the enemy you're attacking, you could turn around and do another point of damage to that same enemy, or you could do a point of damage to another enemy at your location.
Yep.
And the nice thing with this is, since, like, say, Dirk and I are playing 2-player, and I'm engaged with someone and Dirk's engaged with someone, and we're at the same location, then I can do the extra damage to Dirk's enemy.
Which would hopefully put it within range of me being able to get rid of it.
Right. The next card we have is Bodyguard. It's a 3-cost asset. It provides a fight, which I'll get to that in a minute. It's an ally. Bodyguards may be assigned damage dealt to other investigators at your location. And as a reaction, when Bodyguard is defeated, deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. It provides 2 physical, 1 sanity, and that little symbol in the lower right corner, that's an ally. So you have a bunch of different slots, and you can have 1 ally, and the Bodyguard would take up your ally slot. So when you're playing cards, they have 2 ways to play them. So one is I could spend 3 resources, put this asset out, and since it's an asset, it would stay on the table in front of me. And now I've got 2 extra physical and 1 extra sanity that I can soak. And also it can...
and you can use its abilities.
And you can use its ability. Or if I'm doing a fight skill check, like the Daniela example I gave before, maybe we're thinking, oh, you want to have a little extra bonus. You're good. Difficulty's 5. You got a 5 attack. This, you could add the little fight to it, which would give you another +1. So now you have a 6 before you draw the token from the bag.
So to do that, you would discard the card, so you won't be able to put it into play, but you get the skill from it.
Right. So and unlike, and so this, yeah, so you can have 2 copies of a card in your deck. Since you can only have 1 ally out in play, maybe I already have a Bodyguard out, and then I have the second copy of the Bodyguard in my hand. Maybe I decide I want to play it for the skill check. Or you can always save it for when this Bodyguard is defeated, then you can play your second Bodyguard.
Yep. All right, next we have the Meat Cleaver. So the Meat Cleaver is a 3-cost asset. Now, if you notice, this one is red, and instead of having the blue shield up in the upper right-hand corner, it has that red, I'm gonna say eagle. But that is a different class. So this is a different class. The first one was the Guardian class. This is the Survivor class. However, Daniela does actually have the ability to use some Survivor cards. So this is one she can use. It is a 3-cost asset. It provides a willpower if used in a skill test, but it's a weapon. It's a melee weapon specifically, and it's an item. As an action, the little arrow is an action. You can do a fight action. You use your strength. You get +1 strength for the attack, +2 instead if you have 3 or fewer remaining sanity. So if you've taken some sanity damage. And if this attack defeats an enemy, you can heal 1 horror. And the horror is basically what gives you the sanity damage. But as a reaction, that little arrow, whenever you trigger the above action ability, you can take a horror. This attack deals +1 damage. So kind of the way this works is you would trigger the fight action, and as a reaction, you spend a horror, or you take a horror, so you'll get +1 damage on the attack. Then you're doing +1, you're getting +1 to your strength check. And if you've now gone below 3 sanity, or 3 or lower sanity, you're at +2 instead. So lowering your sanity can help put you in the range to make it easier to hit. So that's kind of how this works. And then you have to play the game of balancing your remaining sanity to stay alive and doing the additional damage, or being able to hit easier. So it's kind of a back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's a really fun card to play with, but you do have to be careful.
Right. Because if because you have a physical and you have a sanity score, if those ever reach zero, you're defeated for this scenario.
Yes.
And there's more consequences if you play a
Yeah, it
campaign.
does not mean you're knocked out of the campaign necessarily, but it could make the campaign a little bit harder for you to continue.
Because you take some
Yeah.
permanent damage called trauma.
Yeah, but this is a card that's been around since the base game and it's unchanged from the base game.
This is the base game.
Well, from the original base game.
Yeah.
Or the original game, the chapter 1. This one has stayed the same, and I've had a lot of fun with this card.
All right. Then we got Resilience. It's a 3-cost Guardian card. It's another asset. It provides a willpower for if you put it into a skill check. It's a talent, and it provides 2 physical and 2 sanity. So this is it increases your scores by 2 for each of them. And when you take damage or sanity attacks, you can apply it to these cards
control.
Unless it says direct, then
Yes.
you have to do it to your investigator. Otherwise, you can spread it to the different assets that you have in play.
Yeah, and this is a new one to this to chapter 2. And I don't remember seeing any that provided simply the extra damage and sanity without any specific abilities. However, I do actually like this card, even though it doesn't have any special abilities, because it does give you that extra soak, and it does not take up a slot. There's no hand slot, body slot, or anything. So it's really nice.
Yeah. That's the other thing is you got 2 and 2 without taking up a precious
Yeah,
slot.
because most of the time these things take up a slot. This one doesn't, so it's nice. And you could get 2 of these out, potentially have 4 and 4.
All right.
Okay. All right, so it's this openness in deck building that enables such deep exploration, letting players play the 3-scenario campaign included in the core set multiple times, trying different decks and investigators. Different builds and team compositions can handle the campaign's challenges in distinct ways. And from experience, yes, different team compositions matter. And discovering the strengths and weaknesses of each class and investigator is a key aspect of learning Arkham Horror, and that is a big part of the fun. I think is that exploration.
Right. So the challenges will change from scenario to scenario, but for better understanding of Arkham Horror, the card game, it's important to know the fundamental form that these challenges take. Deck building can be daunting, and having the knowledge of how the game confronts you and your deck will provide a solid base for the decisions you make while building it. Let's take a look.
Okay, so we've got the 3 pillars of Arkham Horror. So when playing a scenario of Arkham Horror, the card game, the players will find themselves challenged by constant threats. Yes, they are constant too. There are enemies and pitfalls lurking around every corner, and players will need to find clues to unravel the mystery around them. These 3 aspects, enemies, survival, and finding clues, make up the 3 pillars of an Arkham Horror scenario. Managing all 3 is key, and knowing how they challenge you is an important baseline to learn.
Okay. Enemies can show up at any time, and they are threats that must be dealt with. If even the weakest enemy is left alone, it will cause chaos, hurting the investigators every turn. Hellhound, a monstrosity rampaging through the Mystic-Tonic campus, is a terrifying creature that shows the risk an enemy can pose. With every attack, it will deal 1 damage and 1 horror to an investigator, and also burn away the cards they control.
Oh, that's nice.
Costing valuable resources and setup time. This is why enemy management is crucial. An unchecked enemy will cause great stress for the investigators, but players have a variety of methods at their disposal to help manage them.
So the Hellhound is a creature. He's a monster. He has a fight of 2. He has 3 hit points, and he has a evade of 4. He is a hunter, and a hunter means that basically some enemies are stationary throughout the game. Hunters will follow you, and they will try to attack you. So they will chase you. And as a forced action, after he attacks you during the enemy phase, choose and discard an asset you control. So it is possible for them to attack you during the player phase in some scenarios, and some creatures do it natively. He does not, but there are other things that could force it. That's why it's got that verbiage in there.
Okay.
But whenever he attacks, he deals 1 physical and 1 mental or 1 sanity damage to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that choosing and discarding the asset you control, that's the burning through the cards it's talking about.
Enemies can be fought against their fight value, designed by the red number next to the fist symbol on the enemy's card. Successful attacks, such as the fight action on Machete, can deal damage, and when enough damage is dealt to match the enemy's health value, the black number in the center, the enemy is defeated. Instead of fighting the enemy directly, investigators can also evade enemies, testing against the enemy's evade value, the green number next to the shoe symbol. This will exhaust the enemy for the turn, meaning that they won't attack this round, but it also means that they will eventually ready and become a threat again for the next one. Some enemies, like the aforementioned Hellhound, have keywords that pose additional challenges. In the Hellhound's case, it has the Hunter keyword, which means it will continue to chase you down even if you manage to temporarily escape from it.
All right, and take a look at the Machete here. So this is a 3-cost Guardian asset. It provides a strength resource if you use it for its skill, but it is a melee weapon. It's an item, and as a fight action, using your fight, you get +1 fight for this attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, you can exhaust the Machete to deal 1 additional damage for the attack. So yeah, this is one that actually benefits you to only have one on you. Sometimes you can do that, sometimes you can't. But it also uses up a hand slot.
All right. And as we saw earlier, the meat cleaver uses a hand slot as well. You have 2 hand slots because you got 2 hands. So you could have the machete in one hand and the meat cleaver in the other hand, but both weapons use the fight action, so you'd only be attacking with one or the other.
Yes,
you can't like stack them, and they have different skills, abilities that they're using anyways. But so yeah, so if you are only engaged with one enemy, you could use the machete, which will give you 2 damage, and you don't have to worry about the sanity portion. If you have more than one enemy, then you could take the sanity hit with the meat cleaver to do the 2 damage.
So. Yeah. So now one thing of note here, though, is if you were, say, the machete's the only weapon you've got, you use it for the fight, you exhaust it to deal a +1 damage, but you can still use it the second time. You can still use it a second time. However, you cannot exhaust it a second time if it's already exhausted. So you won't be able to get the +1 damage again, but you'll still get the +1 fight.
Right. And of course, if you're engaged with more than one enemy, then
you don't get the +1 damage anyways.
+1 damage anyways, yeah.
And the two hand slots, there are ways around that, but by default, you just have 2. All right, so the next pillar of an Arkham Horror scenario is survivability. This challenge asks how much physical and mental strain an investigator can take before they're defeated. While enemies can deal damage in horror when they attack, survivability is tested more commonly through treacheries drawn during the Mythos phase. Each player must draw a card during this phase, meaning that each player's survivability will be tested in some way. Most treacheries, like Noxious Smoke, demand that the players take a one-time test and punish them if they fail. Other treacheries, like Unspeakable Truths, will remain in play and pose a threat over multiple turns.
All right, so Noxious Smoke, it's a treachery, it's a hazard. Revelation. So revelation means when you draw it, and you flip it face up. So that's the revelation. You're going to test will or agility 3, and you take 1 damage for each point you fail by. So the important thing to note is your score never drops. You can never get it below a 0. So if I have, say, a 3, so using Daniela here, so if we use her will of 3, and I draw the -3 token, then that's a 0, so I'm going to take 3 points of damage. If I draw the -4 or higher, it still counts as a 0, so you're not going to take more than 3 damage, since that's the difficulty in the parentheses.
Yeah, and for this particular test, Daniela, her willpower is 3, her agility is only 2, so you would want to use your willpower.
Right.
On this, unless you have ways to boost your agility, which, we see those in other ways.
Yeah, there are cards that give you a raw ability boost. But
yep.
All right.
And then we've got Unspeakable Truths. So this treachery is a terror. The revelation on it is you put this into play in your threat area, and that's the area in front of you where you, that's basically your tableau. And then you've got limit 1 per investigator. So if you ever draw on a second one, you would discard it because you can only have one of these at a time. But as a force, what's forced is after you discover one or more clues, you're going to take a horror. So if you are a seeker, which is the class that generally tries to gather clues, this is really bad for you. If you're a guardian and you don't really gather clues that well, you may not care about this one too much. But you can always take a double action, so use 2 actions to discard this. So this is a way for a seeker to get rid of this if they need to.
Yeah. So we haven't mentioned this yet, but you get 3 actions during your turn. So this would use 2 of those actions to get rid of it, and then you would only have 1 action to like investigate, I guess, to get 1 clue or something.
Yes.
Each investigator needs to build a plan for how they will survive these treacheries, and it's important to keep their risk in mind, both while deck building and playing a scenario. Isabel Barnes can lean on Aleski Superoff to take damage and horror for her, while Dexter Drake can use a ward of protection to cancel the treachery at the cost of 1 horror. There are very rarely wrong ways to protect yourself in Arkham Horror, but it's important that you have a plan and don't go unprotected against the mythos.
All right, first one we'll look at here is Isabel Barnes. So she is a survivor. Again, remember the Red Eagle is the survivor class. She is the returned. She has a willpower of 4. She has an intellect of 2, a fight of 3, and an agility of 3. She is the chosen hunter. Now, this little symbol is the lightning action. I don't know if it has another name. We've always called it the lightning action. But during a skill test, so this means there are windows that happen. All the steps and everything are broken down. There's a big breakdown of windows.
You'll see it in the rule book.
Yeah, it's in the rule book, but the lightning actions can happen in various different positions. But during any of those phases, you can do a lightning action. During a skill test you are performing, that's one of the times, you can take a direct horror to commit an eligible skill from your discard pile to the test. So in other words, cards that you've already discarded, you can reuse with survivors. That's a key to their class. You do a lot of that. But after this test resolves, shuffle that card into your deck. So you get it back and you can use it again. That's actually a really cool thing about her. But you can do that once per round. And if she ever draws the Elder Sign, the effect on that is it's a +1 for the skill test. And if you succeed, heal 1 horror. So she can heal herself there. She has 5 physical damage that she can take and 9 sanity.
Yeah, which is horror.
So
you take horror damage against your sanity. Also note, yes, since like Dirk said, she's red, she could use the meat cleaver as well.
Yeah.
So that's part of the deck building sharing. Like, they might have one of the characters, like Daniela, might come with the meat cleaver, and Isabel doesn't in the pre-built. But when you're doing deck building, you could swap that. And unfortunately, so the rules for the deck building are on the back of the character cards.
And the previews don't have those cards, so we don't.
Unfortunately, I don't think unless they in this article, but we haven't seen the back of any of the cards yet. All right, so then we got Aleski Superoff. He's a 3-cost asset. He provides a will if you put him into a skill check. He's an ally. When your turn begins, you can heal 1 damage or 1 horror from him, and he gives you +2 physical, +2 sanity. And he takes up your ally slot.
All right. Now we'll look at Dexter Drake. So he's got a new symbol here, this little purple eye of Horus, I guess. I don't know. Purple eye.
Looks like Illuminati.
Yeah, the Illuminati. That's it. These are mystics. So he is Dexter Drake the Magician. He has a willpower of 5. He's got an intellect of 2, strength of 2, and a dexterity of 3. He is a performer and a sorcerer. And as a reaction, after you play an asset, either return another non-story asset you control to your hand. A story asset are ones that you actually gain during gameplay, and the game gives them to you.
The specific scenario.
Yeah, the scenarios do. But you can return another non-story, so one that you used in your deck building, to your hand, or play a different asset from your hand, paying its cost. And you can do this limit once per round. So it gives them an additional action almost to either play a new one or he can return something to his hand. And the reason you would want to do that is if you either need the slot back or if they have charges and you're running out of charges, you can do that to refresh the charges. But if he ever draws the Elder Sign, It's a +1 to the skill test, and you can return a non-story asset at your location to its owner's hand. So that is either one that he's put down, which I can't think of anything a mystic would put down, but one of the other classes might have stuff that they can place down onto a location, and this can return it to their hand. And it could be, they don't have to be there if it's another player that's put it. As long as it's at your location, you can return it to their hand. He has 6 physical and 8 sanity.
Right. I believe in the Dexter article there was like a, a body slot. I think it was a robe or something that it took up your body slot. I know that was an asset that you could put on the table. So
Oh, it's a rogue. Oh, wow.
the robe, yeah,
That's interesting.
I think it was a robe or something.
Okay.
All right, then we got Ward of Protection.
Classic. This is a
It's
classic.
one cost event. So events, when you play them, you do their effect and then they go away. They don't stay on the table. It provides a wild. That's what the question mark is. So if you put it into a skill check, you're going to get +1 wild. But if you play it for its ability, then it's a spell, spirit, fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. So fast does not take up one of your 3 actions that you get, and you're drawing treachery cards not during the player phase, so you're usually doing it during the mythos phase. That's where you draw the treachery card, so that's where the game is attacking you back. So normally you can't play cards during that time, but here this allows you to play a card.
Yeah. And another thing that fast does is enemies a lot of times get what's called an attack of opportunity when you do things. Fast, they do not get this attack of opportunity, so they don't get an extra attack on you when you do.
Yeah, so then you can cancel the card's revelation effect and take 1 horror. So the revelation effects that we saw on the treachery cards earlier, you can cancel that and you would take a horror instead of whatever the text says.
Yeah, and you'll have already seen it, so you'll know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
Spin the horror.
All right. Well, that's it. I know, it's just being ornery. This is very annoying. So we have
The final pillar, the
Ward of Protection. Okay.
All right, so the final pillar of an Arkham Horror scenario is the act of investigating and discovering clues, and this is what the Seekers are really good at. Unlike enemies and survivability, investigating doesn't have to do with how you lose, but rather it's how you win. During a scenario, the agenda deck is how the game advances and attempts to defeat the investigators. The act deck, on the other hand, is the investigator's method of advancing through and succeeding a scenario. Acts are often advanced through the collection of clues, so a team of investigators must strive to discover clues, and the pace at which they do so determines how many threats they may have to face. So yeah, in a lot of cases, not always, I'm sure there's exceptions, but in a lot of cases, you're trying to gather the clues and get through this as quick as you can, so you have less bad things to deal with.
Right. Yeah, so the agenda and act deck are cards that are face up, and actually they are side by side and they look like a book. And so there might be like agenda 1A, agenda 2A, or act 1A, act. So as you complete either the bad side, which is if the agenda advances, or the good side, which is when the act advances, you still have that little book graphic, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice little design thing.
All right. Your friend's room is a location you'll come across in Spreading Flames, the first scenario in the new core set. This location has a shroud value of 2, which is the difficulty an investigator tests against while investigating that location for clues. Your friend's room also has 2 clues per investigator, which are the clues you discover upon successful investigation. Like enemies, locations can throw additional challenges or penalties at player, such as the Science Hall, causing investigators to discard cards from their hand upon discovering clues. All right, let's take a look at those cards.
All right, so the first card we're going to look at here is your friend's room. So real quick, so up in the upper left-hand corner, you see the little spade in pink. So those symbols, if you look, there's also a row of circles at the bottom. Those are how you can tell what, when it's laid out on the board, how you can tell what connects to what location. So if it's got the blue triangle at the bottom, means there's another card or maybe more than one card that have blue triangles on them. So those will connect to the room. And anything with the pink spade in the bottom will connect to the friend's room. So what this one does is it has the The Shroud of Two is the black two on the left, and that is how difficult it is to investigate. On the right, you'll see that little symbol, the two with the little guy looking there. That is per investigator, so it's 2 clues per investigator. This is a Miskatonic location, and as an action, as an engage action, you can choose an enemy at a connecting location. So any location that has, in this case, the blue symbol on it. And that enemy moves to this location and engages you. And this action does not provoke attacks of opportunity.
Yeah. So Miskatonic is the name of the university in Arkham. So it's the city college or the university for the state of Massachusetts or something like that. Because Arkham is in the state of Massachusetts, which everyone knows, of course. All you have to do is look at a map of Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah,
All
right
right.
there.
Then we got Science Hall. So again, we got you can see it connects to a plus symbol. It has a little kind of
Hourglass is what it looks like.
let's say Black Widow symbol.
Or that.
Yeah, so it's got a Shroud of Two, and it's got 1 clue per investigator. So that's what that little investigator symbol is. Another Miskatonic location. Forced, after you discover 1 or more clues at Science Hall, choose and discard 1 card from your hand. And it has a little victory one. So as you finish a scenario, especially, and it's very important when you play the campaign, that any location, when it's completely out of clues, you're going to get a victory point. And
if it's out of clues at the end of the scenario.
Yeah, at the end of the scenario. And so you gain experience points that you can spend towards the later
improve your character.
Right. Yeah, there are cards that you can't start the campaign with, but you can only buy with experience points. But
yeah,
I'm not sure if they'll get into that in this article or not. But those are, so like if you like, the base game has 3 scenarios, and so these are cards from the first scenario. So you would have a more experienced investigator, and hopefully not with any like physical trauma or something, to go into scenario 2.
Yep. And like Dave mentioned earlier that Miskatonic is the local university. If you notice, these were both Miskatonic locations. So obviously you can tell this one takes place at the university.
Right.
So it's kind of a cool little story that happens at the university.
Yeah. So when you build a map, it could be the whole city of Arkham, or it could be one specific building or set of buildings in this case, for the university. And so, so it can be different scales of, how big the map represents for each physical location. But that's all scenario specific. All right. So
if an investigator can survive enemies and treacheries, but can't get clues, they'll live until the end of the scenario with nothing to show for it. Likewise, if an investigator can get clues but has no protection, they'll be overwhelmed before they know it. This is why it's key. The key to finding success in a scenario is to balance the solutions for all 3 pillars. And this is why, if you're playing cooperatively, it's a good idea to kind of, try to coordinate with the people that you're going to play the game with if you can. Sometimes you can't if you're going to a game night or something, and you're just going to meet people there and they've got what they've got, you've got what you've got. But, if you can build them together, it helps. Especially some of the more difficult scenarios.
All right. So we got the 5 classes. To manage these challenges, each investigator class approaches their solution differently. There are 5 classes in the game: Guardians, Seekers, Rogues, Mystics, and Survivors. And each class brings their own strength and weakness.
The Guardian class is the Protector class. They do what they can to keep themselves and their teammates safe. They show off their combat prowess through allies like Logan Hastings and powerful skill cards like Vicious Blow. When surrounded by enemies, they can turn the tide with a lesson learned or scene of the crime. However, Guardians need time to set up for the battles and will often find themselves short on resources compared to other classes. Because yes, they can be expensive. Although, I'm not sure that they're the most expensive.
Okay. So Logan Hastings is a 4-cost asset. He provides a strength if you put him in a skill check. He's a bounty hunter, ally hunter. You get +1 fight. So this is just a blanket +1 fight that you can add to any combat that you do. So even with the machete, so Daniela had a 5. If you have Logan Hastings out, she's a 6 now. And then if you use the machete, she would be a 7. So
And kind of note, actually, it's any test that uses the fight
Right.
ability, so it does not actually
Yeah.
have to be a fight action.
right, yeah, like if you have a treachery that says test fight, then you have Logan gives you a blanket +1. As a reaction, after you defeat an enemy, exhaust Logan Hastings, gain 1 resource. It's got 2 physical, 1 sanity, and he does take up the ally slot.
All right, next we have the Vicious Blow. So this is a Guardian skill. So skills can only be used during skill tests, but it provides, whatever you use it in a skill test, it provides a strength resource. It's practice. So if this skill test is successful during an attack, so it's specifically on an attack, that attack deals +1 damage. So if you put this into a skill test, say you're just using a basic fight action, you would do the one from that and an additional one for succeeding with this. So you'd get 2. If you happen to put this into one, like say with the meat cleaver.
Meat cleaver's the wrong stat. It'd be the machete.
Oh, meat cleaver. Okay, the machete. If you use it with the machete and you exhaust the machete to get the extra +1 because it's the only enemy, and then you use this as well, so then you succeeded. You've got the base one. You get the +1 for being the only enemy and a +1 for the Vicious Blow. So it does 3 right there.
Right. And you'll notice that 3 is sort of like a magic number for hit points for enemies, because it's like normally when you attack with the weapon and you've got the ability, right, you can do 2 points of damage. So it's like I can hit and do 2 points of damage. So they give the enemies 3 hit points, so you have to swing at them twice. This would be allowed you
This is the way around
to take it in 1 hit, but you are giving up, an extra card to do it. And you get an extra +1 to hit, like Dirk mentioned. All right, then we got Lesson Learned. This is a 1-cost event. So again, this is, you play it for its ability, but you could also put it into a skill check, which would give you +1 intellect, which is usually for investigating, or +1 fight. Lesson Learned, Insight, Spirit, Fast. So this does not cost 1 of your 3 actions. You play after an enemy attacks you. You can discover 1 clue at your location. So like Guardians aren't normally the clue getters, but you put this event in after he attacks you, and it's like, yeah, well, the consequences for you attacking me is that I'm going to discover a clue and help the seeker out.
And even better is you don't have to do a skill test to do it.
Right? Yeah, it's just a free clue that you get.
Yeah, but you see the look on that guy's face right there? That reminds me of my cat's face whenever I brought the dog home.
Okay,
that's what my cat looked at me like.
I was looking at that thinking, stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
All right, and the next card we've got here is Scene of the Crime. So Scene of the Crime is a 2-cost Guardian event. If used in a skill check, it would provide a intellect or a strength, and a strength. It is an insight. It is bold. You can play only as your first action. So if you're going to use this as during your turn, it has to be the first action that you've done. Fast action would not count against that, but the first standard action. You can discover a clue at your locations. 2 instead, if there's an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So it is not a fast action, but it specifically says it doesn't provoke those attacks of opportunity. Right. So it works similar to that, but it does take an action. And you do have to do it first.
Yeah. So normally if you're engaged with the enemy, all you can do is attack the enemy, evade the enemy, parlay with the enemy, or you're going to take attack of opportunities, like the one that showed that did 1 and 1. If I decided to play my machete because I don't have it out, I pay the cost, get the card out, but then I'm going to take the damage.
You're going to take the attack
that the enemy does, because I'm not paying attention to it while I'm getting my machete out, and it takes advantage of that and strikes at me.
Yep.
The Seeker class is the master of investigating. They have a variety of tools at their disposal to increase their ability to discover clues. They can utilize a fingerprint kit to grab multiple clues at once, boosting their consistency with a magnifying glass or sharp rhetoric. Additionally, Seekers can maximize their card draw potential, refilling their hand with a laboratory assistant, or gather intel. While Seekers are masters of investigating, they lack permanent solutions to enemies, offering temporary fixes instead.
All right, so the first thing we've got here is the fingerprint kit. So this is a Seeker event or asset. So the Seeker is the yellow globe. So this provides a intellect whenever you use it in a skill, but it is an item tool It uses 3 supplies. So supplies are limited uses. You have counters that you put on it, and it has 3 of those. You can, as an action, exhaust this and spend one of those supplies uh, to investigate using your intellect. You get +1 intellect for the investigation, and if you succeed, you discover an additional clue at your location. So if you're doing a base investigation, you are going to use your intellect. So this is still using your standard one, but you get an additional one to do it. If you succeed, you'll get an additional clue. You do have to play it beforehand, so you don't know for sure, but with those extras, hopefully it'll get it to you. And this takes up a hand slot.
Right. So now, if you're familiar with Marvel Champions, you see that uses is a keyword they have in that game. But unlike that game, when you use the last charge, you do not discard this card. This card stays out on the table. Um,
And the reason being
and
is there are ways to add uses back.
yeah, you can. There's a way to gain uses, or if you play like another, you run out of slots. Like you play another hand item, or maybe your second copy of the fingerprint kit, then you would replace that card, this card with that new card that you play, and then you would have the 3 supplies. But yeah, there are ways to gain supplies on your cards, and so that's why it stays out. Or there'll be treachery cards that says discard a card you control. You could discard this card, so it's like, oh, I don't have any charges on it, so sure, I'll discard my fingerprint kit that I can't use anymore. All right, then we got magnifying glass. It's a 1 cost asset. It's takes up it's an intellect in if you put in a skill check. It's fast, so of course it doesn't take up an action. You get +1 books or investigate while investigating, and it takes up a hand slot. So again, it's not a permanent +1 intellect. It is, but just for investigating. So if you do a skill check like we saw earlier that had use your intellect skill, you would not get to use the magnifying glass to help against that treachery. But when you do an investigating action, you would be able to get the +1 plus any other cards that you might have to help with your investigating, plus your stat, of course.
All right, next we have the Sharp Rhetoric. So this is a 2 cost seeker asset. It provides a willpower and an intellect. This is a talent, and whenever this one's in play, you can spend a lightning action, use a lightning action to spend a resource. You'll get +1 intellect for this skill test, +2 instead if it's an investigation or a parlay action. Or you can use a lightning action to spend a resource and get +1 willpower, a 2 instead if it's an investigator or a parlay action.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is pretty nice. Yeah,
the cool thing is you can do that more than once.
Right. So you do get the blanket +1 intellect and will. So like again, against a treachery, you at least get a +1.
Yes.
But if you're doing an investigation or parlay, then you get the extra +1. So,
Yeah, and that's each time you can do the lightning actions multiple times.
right.
And so if you've got 3 resources, you can do that 3 times and adding either a 3 or 6, depending on the scenario, what you're using it for.
All right. Then we have laboratory assistant. It's a 2 cost asset. It's she provides a will if you put her into a skill check. Ally Misatonic Science. Your maximum hand size is increased by 2. And as a lightning action, after you play laboratory assistant, draw 2 cards. Provides 1 physical, 2 sanity. She does take up the ally slot. So normally you have a hand limit of 8. So this would increase your hand size to 10. So if you ever draw the 11th card in this case, then you would have to discard down to 10. So
Yeah, and that's the reaction, not the lightning action.
a reaction, yeah.
Right, and then the last one we've got here is the Gather Intel. So this is a seeker event, cost 1, provides intellect or agility. It's an insight. This is a fast card, so you can play when an enemy enters your location to draw 2 cards. Generally, that's going to happen during the enemy phase. It can happen during the hero phase if under certain circumstances, but that means you can do this, though it does not have to be your turn.
Right.
So,
And it could also happen in Mythos phase, like
Yes.
if you fail a skill check, it'll say the nearest enemy moves towards your location and engages you or something.
yeah, so this can happen. This can occur any of those times,
Yeah.
and it does not use an action.
Right. The rogue class can find its strengths in movement and resource economy. Rogues can move across the map in the blink of an eye with skills like out of sight and allies like Oliver Bishop, evading enemies and leaving them in the dust. That said, rogues also bring their own style of enemy management to the table. They can utilize the M1903 hammerless to take enemies out or paint the town red to bring one into play in exchange for a few extra resources in their pocket. Survivability is the biggest weakness in a rogue's kit. Their recklessness puts them at a disadvantage against the Mythos deck, putting them at risk of getting overwhelmed by horrors around them.
All right, so the first card we've got here, so you'll notice these are green and they have the little interlocking, we're going to call them rings, even though they're not really round. So this is a rogue skill. It provides an agility when used to test, but this is practiced. Max 1 committed per skill test. So you can only put one of these in. Doesn't matter how many players have one, only one can go in. But if this test is successful by 2 or more, the performing investigator may disengage from each enemy and move to a revealed connecting location. So normally, if you're trying to evade or something, which that's what you would do here, if you're trying to evade, you're only evading one enemy at a time. This allows you to do it from multiple. So that's one of the things rogues are really good at.
Yeah. And one thing to note, when you're doing a skill check, yeah, you are allowed to put in as many cards as you want, but this makes you only one of this specific card.
Yeah, you can put other cards.
And if, say Dirk is doing this and we're at the same location, I can put one card from my hand in to help if it's got an agility score. So you can help another investigator on a skill check if you're at the same location, but I would be limited to only putting one card in the skill check, where Dirk could put in 2 or 3 of his cards if he really, really needs to succeed in the skill check.
But amongst all of us, we would only be allowed to put one of these into that skill check.
Yeah, one of these specific out of sight cards. Yeah. All right, then we have Oliver Bishop. He's a 4-cost asset. He provides an agility into a skill check. Ally criminal socialite, you get +1 agility, so that's a blanket +1 agility. And as a lightning action during your turn, exhaust Oliver Bishop to move to a connecting location. And he provides 2 physical, 1 sanity, and he does take up your ally slot.
And I love his title in this case. If you look, he is a haughty art collector.
Yeah.
Because he is a rogue.
Yeah. They're not stolen art at all.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the M1903 Hammerless. So this is a rogue asset that costs 3, provides 1 agility if used in a test, but it is a firearm weapon. It is an item. It uses 4 ammo, so there's going to be 4 use. The ammos are the use counters for weapons, basically. But you can, as an action, you can spend an ammo, take a fight action. This fight action will use your agility instead of your fight. And if the targeted enemy is exhausted, this attack deals +1 damage. Since rogues are really good at evading, you can actually evade them, which once you successfully evade, most enemies will get exhausted. So you evade them, and then since they're exhausted now, then you can attack them with this and deal +1 damage because they're exhausted.
Right. And rogues tend to have a higher agility
Yeah.
than combat. So that's where it's nice that this gun uses your better stat. Paint the town red. It's a 0-cost event. It's will, agility. It's a fortune gambit, and this is a parlay action. So when you're engaged with the enemies, parlay is an action you can do. Some enemies have a special thing you do when you parlay with them, but in this case, you could just trigger a parlay, search the top 9 cards of the encounter deck for a non-elite enemy, draw it, and gain resources equal to that enemy's printed health, and shuffle the encounter deck. So this is a way to bring a non-elite enemy in, and then you could evade it and use your hammerless, or you can go, here, Guardian, here's an enemy for you to attack, and I will gain the resources equal to the printed health of the enemy. So
yeah, now most enemies will have a set health on them. Some of the enemies will have health per player. If it's printed health, say if they had 3 health per player, your printed health would only still be 3. It would not be 3 per player. Most of those happen to be elite, so this wouldn't apply, but just in case.
Yeah, so there's 2 types of enemies, elite and non-elite.
Yes.
All right.
All right, so next, the Mystic class is the class of spellcasters in the world of Arkham Horror. A Mystic's biggest strength is that they can do pretty much anything, but you have to risk something for that power. They can take advantage of Cosmic Flames and Second Sight for fighting and investigating, respectively, but both of these spells run the risk of hurting them. A wise Mystic knows how to navigate the advantages and disadvantages of cards like the Wall of the Cosmos, which provide a great reward with a great risk. This is where Mystic's weaknesses lie. They're powerful, but their power always comes at a cost.
Or Will of the Cosmos.
What did I say?
Wall of the Cosmos.
It's the willful wall of the cosmos. How about that?
Cosmic Flame. It's a 3-cost asset. Again, you can see the Illuminati symbol, so that's for Mystics. It provides a fight if you put it into a skill check. Uses 3 charges, and as an action, you can fight using willpower, which is Mystic's strong stat. If you succeed, you may spend 1 charge to deal +1 damage versus attack. If you reveal a skull token, so that's one of the special symbol tokens we mentioned before, during this test, you remove 1 charge from Cosmic Flame. If you cannot, you take 1 damage and discard this card. And that symbol on the is an arcane slot, so you get 2 arcane slots.
So yeah, so the interesting thing here is you have to spend the charge to use it, and if you reveal that skull, it's a second charge. So it is an addition to the one you've already spent.
If you do the +1 damage.
Yes.
So so the thing is, if you decide to just do 1 damage, you're not spending a charge unless you draw the skull. Then you're going to remove a charge. But if you do decide to do the +1 damage, yeah, you could conceivably remove 2 charges if you draw the skull. And believe me, there's usually at least 2 skulls in the bag.
All right, then we have the Second Sight. So this is a 4-cost Mystic asset. It provides a intellect. It's a spell that has 3 charges, and as a action, you can investigate, but you're using your willpower, which tends to be the Mystics, one of their stronger ones. If you succeed, you may spend 1 charge to discover 1 additional clue at your location. If you reveal a cultist token, that's another one of the special tokens, during this test, you'll remove a charge from Second Sight, and if you can't, you'll take a horror and discard this card. So it's very similar to the last one, except it's an investigate action, and you're hoping not to reveal a cultist.
Yeah, so the nice thing with like the Mystics is you can be like equally good at fighting and getting clues. So like if you're playing a 3-player game, maybe you got a survivor and not a survivor, you got a guardian and a seeker. Guardian's the main fighter, the seeker is the main clue getter, and then you have a Mystic here who can get these 2 cards out, and they can help with fighting and or investigating.
Yeah, whichever one your team needs.
And it uses the same stat. So,
yeah.
You got your willpower so Mystics are very flexible when it comes to that.
Yeah, and this spell also takes up an arcane slot. I don't think I mentioned that.
Right. So, yeah, between the 2 cards, you could have 1 fighting card and 1 investigating card.
Yep.
All right. Then we got Will of the Cosmos.
No, it's Wall, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Wall of the Will. Will of the Wall. Something. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
I'm done.
It's a 0-cost event. It provides an intellect, and Will of the Cosmos is an insight augury. Place 1 doom on a player card you control, then discover 1 clue at your location and 1 clue at another revealed location. So one of the things in the game, we were talking about the agenda and the act deck. Agenda will have a doom threshold on it, and if a total number of doom equals that card when you're at the Mythos phase,
then it resolves.
And that would be any doom that's on the agenda itself or any other card in play, which would include this card.
Yep.
Or the card the card that you put the doom on. So hopefully you put it on a card that,
that you have a way to get rid of it.
Yeah, you have a way to get rid of it. Maybe, yeah, some cards like I say, they stay out. That's another reason why they stay out is if you put doom on a card that has no charges, well, the card's still out, so the doom still counts. But if you have one that's going to go away when it runs out of charges or something, then that would be a good one to put it on.
Yeah, and there's a little trick that we've kind of learned, that cards that use doom, that we'll when we do a learn to play, we'll make sure that we show you that. It's called we call it the witching hour. All right, so lastly, the Survivor class is the ultimate class of survivability and card recursion. I love this class for that reason. They often brute force their way through challenges, taking them on without knowing whether they will come out on top. A rough scrape with an enemy can be mitigated through a clever use of bandages, while a bad token pull can be softened with "Look what I found." Though survivors are durable, they need to expend more of their cards to survive, which is why cards with recursion effects like Hunter's Instinct can be so life-saving, allowing the investigator to find the right card at the right time. This class has to put in a bit more effort than the others, meaning that they pose the highest risk of getting outpaced by the scenario. However, they can be extremely powerful with that recursion.
All right. So we got bandages. It's a 2-cost asset. It provides an agility if you put into a skill check. Uses 3 supplies. If there are no supplies on bandages, discard it. So this is this one is like where Will of the Cosmos can go on. If you had bandages and that card in your hand, in play, you could put it on the bandages, and then when bandages is gone, the doom would be gone. As a reaction, after an investigator or ally asset at your location takes 1 or more damage, spend 1 supply to heal 1 damage from that card.
Yeah, and this one's great because not all the healing cards will heal allies, so this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Look What I Found. So this is a 2-cost survivor event. It provides 2 intellect if you use it in a test. But as a fast action, you play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while investigating. You'll discover 2 clues at your location. So here's where the survivors can actually help with investigation. And even if they fail, as long as they don't fail too bad, they not only gather a clue, they're going to gather 2 clues. So you might actually want to fail this one, but only by a little bit.
Yeah. Survivors.
And that's what they're good at.
Survivors are like the fail forward class.
They fail up.
And this is a fortune type card. All right, then we have Hunter's Instinct. It's a 2-cost asset that provides 1 combat, 1 agility. If you put it into a skill check, it's a talent. Limit 1 per investigator. Uses 3 supplies. If there are no supplies on Hunter's Instinct, discard it. And as a reaction, after you engage an enemy, spend 1 supply and exhaust Hunter's Instinct. Add a level 0 event in your discard pile to your hand. So this is part of that recursion that Dirk had mentioned that survivors are really famous for. So this is a card that can help you get one of your 0-cost events, back into your hand, which of course is 0. So, so you don't have to pay for it. So even with the knowledge of classes, it can be a daunting challenge to know how to best construct a deck, much less upgrade it with the experience you gain during the course of the campaign. So that's that victory that we mentioned earlier. There are 3 fundamentals to help lay the beginning of a good deck: the investigator's role, the deck's function, and the deck's economy. Understanding these will give strong guidance for building any deck for any campaign.
All right, an investigator's role is likely the first decision you'll make when deck building after choosing an investigator. There are 4 main roles in Arkham Horror. So these don't necessarily match the classes. These are just kind of general deck building roles that you'll fit. There's the fighter, so that's any investigator who focuses on defeating enemies. There's what they call the clover or the clue getter. This is an investigator who focuses on discovering clues. They have a flex, which is an investigator who does a little bit of fighting and investigating both. And then there's support. So they're similar to flex, but they focus on helping out the other teammates to do their actions and to survive. So those are going to probably be like your healers and such.
All right. So in the core set, Daniela Reyes and Isabel Barnes would make good fighters. Joe Diamond and Trish Scarborough would make good cloovers. I always call them cluers, but okay, cloovers.
Well, cloovers, like Hoover. They vacuum up the clues.
Sure. And Dexter Drake would make a strong flex. However, these investigators are not locked into these specific roles, and it's always a good idea to include options for cards outside of your role. For example, between breaks of whacking enemies with their meat cleaver, Isabel Barnes can pick up some clues with a Look What I Found or even Second Sight, since her deck building options let her use some mystic cards.
All right, so Joe Diamond is a seeker He's a private investigator. He has 2 willpower, 4 intellect, 4 fight, and 2 agility. He's a detective, and as a reaction, after you successfully investigate, you can draw a card, limit once per round. If he draws the Elder Sign token, so this is the only positive of the different tokens, non-number tokens. But if you succeed, you draw 1 card and gain 1 resource. He has 7 physical and 7 sanity.
Okay. Then we got Trish Scarborough. She's got a 2 will, 4 intellect, 2 fight, 4 agility. Agency criminal. You may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to evade. And her elder sign is effect +0. But after this test resolves, you may disengage from each enemy and move to a connecting location. Now, the nice thing with her elder sign is it doesn't matter if she succeeds or fails. She gets to disengage from each enemy if you draw the elder sign.
Yes.
And it's 8 physical, 6 sanity.
Yeah, and the cool thing here is you get that additional action. So if you can actually build the evasion into your deck, which these guys tend, the rogues tend to be pretty good at, use those, build them into your deck to be able to get extra actions out of her almost every turn.
Yeah, and if you evade a lot of enemies, that slows them down, but it doesn't get rid of them. So it's like, here, I'll help you out, Guardian, but you're going to
slow them down for the Guardian, so the Guardian can come to them.
You are going to need to deal with them, but I can slow down their activations for you a little bit.
Yep. All right, so after deciding on your role, you'll want to build a strong foundation to ensure that you can accomplish that role. To do this, you'll want to include assets and events that help you with your role's goal, and you'll want enough of them so that you can do your job reliably. Since you can include both Rogue and Seeker cards in her deck, Trish Scarborough will want to include multiple good investigation assets like Thieves Kit, Fingerprint Kit, and Local Map to ensure that she draws 1 in her opening hand. After that, she'll likely look at investigation events like breaking and entering and working a hunch to round out that consistency.
Yeah. And by the way, having all 3 of those cards does not guarantee you'll get 1 in your opening.
Yes, that is true.
All right. So Thieves Kit is a 3-cost asset. It provides intellect if you put it into a skill check, item, tool, illicit, uses 6 supplies, and as an action, spend 1 supply, investigate using books or agility. If you succeed, gain 1 resource, and it takes up a hand slot.
All right, next we've got the Local Map. So this is a 3-cost Seeker asset. Provides an agility in a skill. This is an item that uses 4 secrets. And as an action, you can spend 1 secret to investigate using your intellect and investigate a revealed connecting location. So normally you can only investigate where you're at, but as long as there is one connected to you, so it shares the symbol down at the bottom, and it is revealed, then you get then you can investigate that one. You get +1 intellect for that investigation, and if you succeed, you can exhaust the map to move there. So it gives you a free move after you've investigated if you succeed, and this takes up a hand slot.
Yeah, so normally when you start a scenario, the only location that's revealed is where you're at, and so there's no information on there's usually like flavor text and like the name of the location, and until someone physically goes there, then the first thing you do is you flip the location to its revealed side, and then you find out the shroud and how many clues are on there.
And a lot of times you're going to find out if something bad happens.
Yeah, there could
sometimes it will.
Yes, there could be a when revealed power at the location as well. But yeah, so that's what when they say revealed location. If no one has ever gone there before, then and it's on the face down side where there's no information about the specific information about the location except for the name, I guess, then that is considered an unrevealed location. So this card would only work on a location that someone has or is at, All right, we got breaking and entering. It's a 2-cost event, provides an intellect and agility into a skill check. It's a trick. Investigate using book. You get to add your agility to your book for this investigation. Rogues tend to have a good agility. If you succeed by 2 or more, you may automatically evade an enemy at this location. This attack does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So normally, like again, like we said before, you can attack or evade if you are at a location with an enemy. But so normally if you try to investigate when there's an enemy there, it would get a chance to do some damage to you. This card prevents the attack of opportunities from triggering.
Yep. All right, and the last one we've got here is the Working a Hunch. So this is a 2-cost Seeker event. If used in a skill, it provides 2 intellect. But this is an insight. It's fast, so you can only play it during your turn, but you discover 1 clue at your location. So basically, it costs you 2 to be able to discover a clue. You don't have to do a skill test or anything. And this is a fast action, so it doesn't cost you an action, just the resources. But you can only do it during your turn.
Yep. Lastly, and arguably most importantly, is your deck's economy. The fundamental aspect of deck building ensures that your deck has the ability to draw cards and also pay for them.
We don't need no stinking money.
While not the most exciting part of deck building, it's crucial to make your economy a focus. A staple piece of Arkham Horror's economy is emergency cash. Because it's neutral, every investigator can take it, and it provides a good starting point to ensure you have the resources for the cards you want to play. After that, you'll want to look through your investigator's card pool for what can draw cards, like Gather Intel and Joe Diamond, and what can gain resources like Sticky Fingers in Trish Scarborough.
All right, so we'll look here at the emergency cash. And, hey, go figure. The card's a classic, and it's got a mask on it. But this is the emergency cash. It's a 0-cost event. It's basic, again, so anybody can use it. But when you play this, you gain 3 resources. So it doesn't cost anything except for the slot, and you gain 3 resources. Great card.
Yeah, there's a mask on. There's no accounting for taste.
All
right. Then we got Sticky Fingers. I love the art on this one. It's a 1-cost asset. It provides an agility to put in a skill check. It's a talent, limit 1 per investigator. As a reaction, after you successfully evade an enemy, which Trish is going to do a lot, you can exhaust Sticky Fingers to gain 1 resource. So the little girl is picking the pocket of the monster as she evades it.
Yeah, you run away from them and you steal their money in the process.
That's right. Just a sweet, innocent little girl. What could, she's no harm.
All right, so after establishing a foundation for your deck, you can build around those cards. You'll want to check if your deck has survivability to manage the Mythos phase, and then you can add in what you feel will be powerful or fun. Maybe you want to use Prestidigitation to swap assets in and out of play as Dexter Drake. Or maybe you want to use Jim Culver to draw an extra card on top of your recursion effects with Isabel Barnes. Explore the card pool and find out what is fun for you, because Arkham Horror's amazing deck building is the perfect way to express yourself.
Weird. Okay. Oh. Wait, what?
They don't show Prestidigitation.
All right. Well, unfortunately, the link to Prestidigitation is the art image and not the card. So we'll have to skip that one. But we got Jim Culver, who in chapter 1 was an investigator, but now he's an ally.
He might be again. We don't know.
He might be. It's a 4-cost asset. If you put it into a skill check, it provides a will. Ally performer, you get +1 will. As a reaction, after you take damage and or horror, you can exhaust Jim Culver, draw a card, and he provides 2 physical, 2 sanity, and he takes up the ally slot.
And one thing before Dave switches off of this, if you'll notice, we probably have forgot to point this out earlier. He's got the little star in front of his name. That means he is a unique, so there can only be one of these in play at any given time.
Yeah. But you are allowed to have 2 copies of any card in your deck. So you could have 2 copies of Jim Culver in your deck. But yeah, you'd only be able to have 1 out on the table for the entire group. So if both people have the Jim Culver, if 2 people have Jim Culver in their decks, only the first one that comes out. Get it. All right.
All right. So as you near the completion of your deck, another consideration for your decks is your deck's curve. This checks the cost of all cards in your deck and tracks how many of each resource cost you have. If you have a lot of cards that cost 3 or more, your deck's curve is higher, meaning that you potentially would want to run more economy than if your deck's curve was lower with mostly 1 or 2 cost cards. When you're first building a deck, this can be hard to grasp, but it's something that you can pay attention to while you play if you often feel that you have too few or too many resources.
Additionally, don't feel like you shouldn't include neutral cards just because they aren't in your investigator's class. The neutral skill suite of guts, perception, overpower, and manual dexterity can all help you pass a test and grab an extra card, which can potentially find an answer to a future threat. Unexpected courage can help you pass any test, and that versatility should not be overlooked. Fedora can soak a little damage or horror if you feel like you're missing some survivability, while Broken Bottle or Hand Crank Flashlight can be another asset to help build the foundations of your role.
All right, so Guts is a basic skill. It provides 2 willpower. It's an innate max 1 committed per skill test. So if this test is successful, the performing investigator draws 1 card. So that means if you play it into yours or somebody else's, if it's successful, whoever was doing that test gets to draw a card.
Yeah.
Now, of note, they do have to be using the willpower trait for you to play this into the test.
Yeah. And for people who might be familiar with Chapter 1, this is actually changed now because it used to be the person who played it gets the draw card. Now it's who's doing who the performing investigator gets to draw the card.
Yes.
So, all right. Then we got Perception, provides 2 intellect. Practice, max 1 committed per skill test. If this test is successful, the performing investigator draws a card. So again, this is like if you're trying to get clues, by doing an investigation skill, or if it's a treachery that requires intellect. You're not limited to just what you're using it for.
Next, we have Overpower. So this is the fight version. It provides 2 strength and max 1 per skill test. If successful, you get the performing investigator draws a card.
Then we got Manual Dexterity. It's 2 agility into a skill check, max 1 committed per skill test. If the test is successful, the performing investigator draws a card. So you can kind of sense a pattern there between those 4 cards.
Okay. And now that we've got the pattern, let's break it. Unexpected Courage. So this is the 2 wild. So this can be used in any, like they mentioned, and max 1 per skill test. Now this one does not give card draw, but the wild is phenomenal.
Right. And the nice thing is, like, if you're doing an agility, you could have a manual dexterity and an unexpected courage, and that would give you +4.
Yes.
So then we got the Fedora. It's a 2-cost asset, provides an agility, and it just gives you +1 fight and +1 sanity, and it takes up your hat slot.
And yes, little known secret, that picture, that's Tom Vassell in the background, right?
Sure.
I'm joking.
For those who know who that is.
Yeah. All right. So next we've got the Broken Bottle. So this is a 1-cost asset. It provides a strength if used in a test, but it is a melee weapon. It is an item and it is improvised. And as a fight action using fight, you get +1 strength for the attack. If you succeed, you can discard the bottle to deal +1 damage for this attack. So you can still use it for the +1 to attack at any time, but if you ever want that +1 damage, you do have to discard it, and it takes up a hand slot.
Right. And if you're watching, Tom, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong way. All right, then we got the hand crank flashlight. It's a 1-cost asset. It provides an intellect item tool. As an action, you can investigate using intellect. You get +1 intellect for this test. If you succeed, you may discard hand crank flashlight for your location to get -1 shroud until the end of the round, and it takes up a hand slot.
Okay, so with all this said, don't feel as though using the pre-built decks is a bad place to start. If you want to immediately jump in and play, you can use the decks included in the core set. With those, you can get a good idea of the investigators and how they fit into the class, as well as see the 3 pillars of Arkham Horror in action. After getting a game or 2 in, you may feel more knowledgeable and comfortable to try building your own decks with the core set's card pool. So yeah, if you've never played Arkham Horror, I would definitely suggest trying out the decks, the pre-built decks, because they do give you a really good feel of kind of what the game does. But again, it's one of my favorite parts of the game is actually building the decks before playing. So,
And more than likely, I mean, we obviously haven't seen the product yet, but they're probably each starter deck will probably be bundled by itself. So like no matter what your player count is, like if you're solo, you would grab one. If you're playing two players, you can grab, okay, I'll play as Dexter and you'll play as Isabella, and we'll open up Isabella and Dexter's deck. We'll open up the deck for scenario one and boom,
yeah,
probably ready to go. That's typical how they bundle it. I mean, there's no guarantee they will, but that's more than likely. You don't even have to open up all the packs to get started.
yeah, and I would suggest not only trying to play a couple of the different investigators, but try different. If you've got one or two other players, um, try actually different teams of investigators to get an idea of how the teams work together.
Right. Yeah, and then there should be multiple rule books. That's typical. Usually there's like a learn to play, and then there's the rules reference, which will have like all the keywords, and then usually there's like a book for the campaign as well. But yeah, you could just bust out the first scenario, and you can ignore the campaign part if you want, just to get a feel of the game. Or, it's like, oh, okay, I'll just start with this pre-built, and that you can learn when you spend experience points after you finish scenario one.
Just jump in the fire. Just go for it. Go for it.
Right. And actually more than likely either the learn to play or the campaign book will kind of guide you step by step on how to go through the different stages of the campaign. So, all right.
And of course, we'll do a learn to play video too, so you can always just watch that.
Yeah. You can ignore the rule books and just watch our video when it comes out. Outro. There is a lot to discover in Arkham Horror the card game. Jumping in and playing the core set is a great place to start. You may struggle as you begin to face the threats before you, and they may seem impossible to beat. But if you persevere and continue to fight against the mythos, you'll be surprised by what you're capable of. Explore the card pool, get to know the investigators, and build decks that speak to you as you discover all the amazing stories that exist in Arkham Horror.
All right. And I am definitely looking forward to exploring the new card pool and see what kind of changes they've made, because I've been playing the game for a little while. Really kind of love what the game, but it's gotten to some of the cards that, have become just like we play them. It's like they're almost auto includes, and it looks like they're breaking some of that up. There's some cards that they've already shown that look like they're going to replace some cards that we're used to. And I'm kind of interested to see what I'm going to have to do now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and some of the cards didn't change, and then others, classics did change, and probably so the game has been out for a while, so some cards it might be considered a little more powerful. So this is the part of the current legacy format for Arkham, and Marvel Champions has got the same kind of issue going on now, where they want to take just the last three product waves to the current pool so that they can, design the game, balance the game to those cards. Now,
yeah, because it can be a little bit difficult in the design space whenever you've got a card that came in 5 years ago and you're still having to try to design around that so that it doesn't break the game.
Yeah.
So they're freeing up a little bit of design space to do that. And I do think that it's going to help the game overall. It just might be a little painful if you're used to using those cards all the time.
Right.
But yeah, I'm looking.
Dirk's already shaking because a lot of his
there's
a lot of his favorite cards haven't been previewed.
They haven't been previewed, and I'm thinking they might not be in there. I'm still hopeful, but I might lose some cards that were like they were key cards to me.
Yeah.
Like I was known for including these cards in decks.
So he wakes up in the middle of the night shaking that certain cards are missing.
Yeah, see, I used to have a full head of hair.
Yeah, last week. All right. Well, anyways, thank you for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe.
And if you want to see more content by us, go ahead and hit that notification bell down there, and you'll get alerts whenever we post new videos. All right, see you.